My sister said there'd be no birthdays this year. Money was tight. I agreed. Later, I opened the family group chat. Her son's party had a magician, a bounce house, and piles of gifts. My son asked, why not mine? I snapped a photo of their rent envelope and wrote, "Return to send her." By 8:22 a.m., my mom had called me 29 times. My son, Mason, kept asking if they were running late. He'd spent all morning bouncing between the front door and the backyard. He picked out his favorite shirt the night before and woke up earlier than I did, already asking when everyone would arrive. Every detail he helped with, set out the plates, blew up a few lopsided balloons with me. He made name tags for his cousins out of old index cards. He even saved the biggest slice of cake for Cody, Haley's son, because he always wants the corner with the most frosting. The hours passed. I kept glancing at my phone, checking for texts. A last-minute excuse, maybe some kind of emergency. Nothing. At one point, Mason asked if maybe Grandma's car broke down. I nodded like that made sense, though my gut was saying something else. By sunset, the leftover hot dogs were cold. The paper tablecloth was flapping in the wind. Mason sat on the porch steps, his little sign that said, "Welcome, fam," slumping over next to him. I told him maybe we'd do a movie night instead. Just us. I didn't tell him what I was really thinking. I walked inside, cleaned up in silence, and made the mistake of opening the family group chat. The first thing I saw was a picture of Cody holding a sparkler, his face lit up by the fire, and a massive cake in front of him, shaped like a pirate ship. I kept scrolling. My mom was there holding Cody on her lap. My dad was grilling. Haley had rented a bounce house. There was even a magician, the kind with a top hat, and a real rabbit. Mountains of presents, laughter frozen in time, photo after photo. Every single person in our family, even a few neighbors I recognized, except us, except the kid who waited on the porch all day with homemade name tags. I stared at it for a long time before Mason came up behind me. He peeked over my shoulder and asked, almost whispering, "Why didn't they come to mine?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just put the phone down and said we'd watch whatever movie he wanted. But inside, I was already boiling because Haley had texted me 1 week earlier saying they weren't doing birthdays this year. That money was tight, that they were cutting back. She even thanked me for being understanding. I had believed her. I didn't push. I didn't guilt trip. I told Mason that not everyone could throw parties every year, but clearly they could, just not for us. It wasn't about the party. It wasn't about the magician or the presents. It was about the message, and it was loud and clear. We didn't matter enough anymore. That night, as I was tossing the trash from the party that never happened, I noticed something on the counter. Their rent envelope. Again, I'd been quietly covering their rent for 2 months. No thanks. No apologies, just the assumption that I do it because I always had. I picked it up, took a photo, posted it in the family group chat. Underneath it, I wrote just 2 words, "Return to send her," no context, no explanation. By 8:22 a.m. the next morning, I had 29 missed calls from my mom, 6 from Haley, a couple of guilt-laced voicemails that started with, "What is going on?" and ended with, "This is unfair to Cody." No one said a word about Mason. That was the moment I realized something had shifted. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being family and started being useful. As long as I showed up, paid up, and kept quiet, I was welcome. But the second I stopped being convenient, we disappeared. And now they were going to learn what that actually felt like. I didn't answer a single call. Not from my mom, not from Haley, not from anyone. I watched the missed calls stack up like guild bricks they were trying to lay at my feet. 29 from my mom before 9 a.m. Another batch by lunchtime. Haley left me voicemails that started casual, then tilted into emotional manipulation like she'd flipped a switch mid-sentence. She said I was being cold, that I must be going through something, and that I was hurting Cody more than anyone. Not a single message mentioned Mason. Not even once. It told me everything I needed to know. I stopped engaging with the family group chat. They kept posting like nothing had happened. Photos from brunch at Haley's place. A poll about who could host Thanksgiving. Someone asking if we should do matching shirts again this year for the cousin's Christmas photo. I didn't respond. Neither did Mason, obviously, though his silence was never what they cared about. A week passed. I thought maybe they'd get the message. Then Haley texted me privately. "So, are you really cutting us off over a misunderstanding?" A misunderstanding? I left it on read. 5 hours later, another text came. You could have just asked. We weren't trying to hurt you. We didn't think Mason would notice. That line sat with me. We didn't think Mason would notice. Like, that made it okay. He noticed every day. He asked if Cody was mad at him, if he did something wrong. He asked why Grandma didn't call, why Uncle Rick said he was too busy to come, but was in the background of one of the party videos playing cornhole. He stopped asking after 3 days. After that, it was just silence, that quiet shift kids make when they realize the answer won't come from the people they're waiting on. So, no, I wasn't answering calls. Instead, I started digging. I pulled up my online bank account and started scrolling. There were charges I didn't recognize at first, but then it all clicked. Spotify Premium, Amazon Prime, 3 different kids' game subscriptions tied to an iPad that wasn't ours. Grocery deliveries from stores 2 towns away, all charged to the same card, mine. Every order was Haley or her husband or both. I had added my card once, nearly a year ago, when they were struggling. She said it was only to cover groceries until his new job started. I forgot about it, and they never reminded me. So I went through and shut everything down, canceled each subscription, changed passwords, deactivated shared logins, cut off the streaming accounts. Netflix was the first thing she noticed. She texted me the next morning. Seriously? Cody was in the middle of a show. No hello, no apology, just that. I walked into Mason's room and found him curled up with his stuffed panda, watching cartoons on my old laptop. I snapped a photo and sent it back to her. No words, just the image. She didn't reply. My mom did. 2 days later, she was at my door, acting like she still owned the place. I cracked it open halfway. She launched straight into a speech, said I was being dramatic, that Haley was overwhelmed, that Cody was sensitive and didn't understand why I was punishing him. She went on about traditions, holidays, compromise, family. Not a word about Mason. I let her talk. She kept glancing past me, probably waiting for an invite inside. I didn't move. When she finally paused, I said only one thing, that she could come in if she brought the gift Mason never got. She blinked, said nothing, and walked back to her car. I watched her drive away without a flicker of regret. That part cut deeper than I expected, but something snapped in me that day. It wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. Just clarity. They had chosen convenience over connection, duty over love. They assumed I'd keep playing my role, the fixer, the helper, the quiet supporter. Invisible, as long as they needed me. But I'm done. And they're about to learn what happens when the guy who always says yes goes silent. After that, they grew quiet. Not gone, just quiet in a way that was louder than noise. Like they were waiting for me to fold, to do what I always did, apologize without being wrong, smooth things over, pick up the slack. But I didn't. Haley stopped texting. My mom didn't call for a week, which for her is practically vanishing. Instead, she dropped a passive-aggressive Bible verse in the family chat about forgiveness and peace. No one liked it. No one replied. Except Uncle Nate, who added a heart. He's always been the family's emotional sponge. What surprised me was how quickly they carried on without me, at least on the surface. Haley posted pictures from Cody's soccer game. My mom talked about planning a family beach trip in October. My name wasn't mentioned. I wasn't asked. For a while I wondered if I had overreacted, that maybe they'd just made a mistake and didn't know how to apologize. Then Mason came home from school and asked if he should invite Cody to his birthday or if it would be too awkward. That word, from a 7-year-old, awkward. I told him no. That some people only show up when it's easy, and real family isn't measured by last names or group chats. He nodded and went back to playing. After that, I pulled back even more. Quietly, deliberately, I dropped us off the family phone plan. It was something I'd been covering for years without really thinking about it. For phone lines, mine, Mason's, Haley's, and her husband's. They never once offered to help with the bill. One day I finally called the carrier and asked to drop their numbers. The rep on the line asked if I was sure. I said yes. 3 hours later, Haley texted me from a new number. My phone got shut off. Seriously? What the hell, Ethan? I didn't answer. Then she tried email. You're punishing me for something we didn't mean to do. Cody's crying because he can't FaceTime his friends. You've made your point. Can we stop now? There it was again. We didn't mean to. As if intention erased the damage. Just seeing those words pissed me off, because none of them ever named the cause. They only talked about the fallout, like I'd suddenly decided to torch every bridge for no reason. Like Mason didn't spend his birthday waiting for his grandma to show. Like he didn't wonder why his cousins ignored him, why the people who were supposed to love him disappeared. They hadn't just skipped a party. They skipped him. I didn't post about it, didn't call anyone out publicly. I just pulled away. A week later, my dad texted for the first time in months. Short message, don't let this get worse. Be the bigger person. I stared at that one for a while. It took everything not to reply with a photo of Mason's untouched birthday table, name tags still set for kids who never came. But I didn't. I was done handing out reminders of what they'd already chosen to forget. Instead, I deleted the group chat. Left without saying a word. 2 days later, a cousin texted asking if everything was okay. I told him to ask the people still in the chat. He replied, yeah, they said you're just dealing with some stuff. I laughed when I read that. No, I wasn't dealing with stuff. I was done dealing with them. And for the first time in years, that actually felt good. Weeks went by. I thought maybe it would end there, that eventually they'd let it go. But my family doesn't quit. Not when it comes to rewriting the story to make themselves the victims. One Saturday morning, Mason came in from the porch holding an envelope like it was treasure. Cream-colored, heavy paper, sealed with wax. I knew that seal. My mom used it for every so-called formal family event, as if she were running a royal court out of a rented house in Ohio. Mason handed it to me, smiling. We got invited to something. I opened it slowly, already knowing what it was. A wedding invitation. Haley's wedding. That hit hard. She wasn't married. Not technically. She and Ryan had been together for years, shared kids, a mortgage, a life, but always bragged about not needing a piece of paper. They'd made a whole show of being free spirits. And now, suddenly, they were throwing a full wedding, and we weren't supposed to know. I read the invite 3 times, then flipped it over to check the envelope. The handwriting wasn't even my mom's. It wasn't addressed to me at all. It was for the previous tenants, the people who lived here before Mason and I moved in 2 years ago. That's when it clicked. They hadn't meant to send me the invite. It was an old address list, and one slipped through. Mason was watching, so I told him it was junk mail and hid it away. Later that night, I read it again under the kitchen light. Beach ceremony, catering, dress code, pricey registry. At the bottom, we hope to celebrate with our loved ones. I laughed. They could plan a wedding, but not show up for Mason's birthday. The next morning, I went to their registry, bought the most expensive item, a $900 copper cookware set, shipped it to myself, then resold it for $650. I used the money to book a lakeside cabin for Mason and me the same weekend as their wedding. When the day came, I posted one photo. Mason on the dock, smiling in his blue hoodie. No caption. That hurt them more than words. After the wedding, silence. No one reached out. Mason still had a great time. Called it the best unbirth ever. A few days later, my cousin Dan called. At the wedding, people asked about us. Haley told them I was traveling for work and needed space. Even hid a gift someone brought for Mason. Then Dan told me the kicker. Haley and Ryan openly asked family to pitch in for their honeymoon. My name was on the list. Not long after, I noticed I'd been quietly added back to the group chat. Over 100 new messages, mostly wedding photos. Then one from Haley tagging me. I know things have been tense, but we're hoping to move forward. We're still family, and life's too short to hold grudges. Haley posted a honeymoon fund link in the group chat. No pressure, just love. I stared at it, amazed she could ask me, the guy whose kid they ghosted, to help pay for her vacation. I didn't reply. Instead, I pulled up the old receipt for that $900 cookware set. Proof of the person they thought I still was. Then Dan texted, they're planning a beach weekend in November. Pretty sure it's a rebuild attempt. That's when it hit me. It wasn't peace, it was narrative control. So I posted one thing. A photo of Mason holding his crumpled birthday sign. Welcome, fam, the day after his party. Under it I wrote, don't worry about the honeymoon fund. You already spent everything I had to give. Then I left the chat for good. Dan texted back, that photo hit hard. Mom said grandma cried. I ignored it. They were still playing the same game. But after that, silence. A week, then 2, then a month. No calls, no invites, no fake apologies. For once, they let it die. Thanksgiving came and went. No invite, no message. Mason didn't ask either. He'd stopped waiting on them, started asking about friends instead. He stopped drawing his cousins, stopped asking to call grandma. Kids know who shows up. I wasn't going to rewrite that truth for him.